Well, Catherine, welcome to Adelaide. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
There have been a lot of notable female singers in the rock and roll genre over the past 50 years. Why Christine McVie for your show?
I love a good female rocker, and I was actually listening to Fleetwood Mac's greatest hits on a plane somewhere between Lima and Santiago in September last year, and I've always wondered about her. I saw Fleetwood Mac on their last Australian tour, and obviously Christine didn't tour with them, and I remember thinking, it's such a shame because I really loved her songs the most. And so I suppose listening back to the track that inspired the show, which was As Long As You Follow, I just thought, wow, Christine, she's so interesting. She always kind of flew under the radar compared to Stevie Nicks, who was always out the front and, you know, catching as much limelight as possible. And I just thought, what a great idea for someone to explore, and for a character to explore. So that's really where the inspiration came from.
And you mentioned she seems to be regarded as sort of the forgotten member of Fleetwood Mac, and yet, at least to my mind, her voice has sort of stood the test of time better than perhaps Stevie Nicks has, and of course she was a songwriter of so many of the hits. Why do you think she is the sort of forgotten member?
I'm not sure if she's so much forgotten. I just don't think that she chased the light as much as maybe some of the other band members did. She was always, she's a very private person. We can obviously see that now. She lives in Kent and likes to live a very, very quiet life. And I just think it was a choice of hers. I think that, she loved the music and she loved the band, and that was enough. She never really sort of sought the incredible amount of fame that she ended up receiving anyway. But I think that it really just comes back to her own choice.
Right. And reading some biographical material on her, it seems like she might be a kind of a difficult personality. What are your perceptions about her, having done some more research than I would have done?
I think she's an exceptionally strong woman. I think that she only likes to give so much away. She's very protective of her privacy, and I really respect that. I think that, you can either choose to let everyone know everything, or you keep some things, keep the cards close to your chest. And again, I just think that was a choice of hers, and I think she was really strong-willed, a headstrong woman, and that's why we find her so interesting. James Miller, who's writing the show, he's found her incredibly frustrating at times in interviews because he wants to know so much more about her. But she only just gives that much away, and that's who she is.
You've also in the past few years had great success with the Divine Miss Bette.
Yes.
A sort of tribute of sorts to Bette Midler.
Yeah.
Tell us about that show and your story with that.
Well, I moved back to Sydney after living away for quite a few years in 2007, and I was working in film and television production. And I was generally feeling a little unhappy. I didn't feel as though I was really sort of, following the path that I wanted to. And I made the decision to move back into show business on the right side of the camera that I thought was for me. And I had a colleague and very dear friend of mine, Peter Cox, who I had previously worked and performed with in Wagga, which is where I studied acting at Charles Sturt University down there. And he put together the show for me, and we opened it for a season in Wagga as a Christmas show in 2009, and then a year later I produced the show to open it in Sydney. And I premiered it at Slide Lounge, which is a cabaret venue on Oxford Street, in November 2010. And then the show just kept on selling, and I performed a monthly show in Sydney over the next year and a half. And again, it's that female rock icon which Bette was in the 70s, and that's what the show really tried to encapsulate. We paid tribute to some of her later stuff that everyone loves, obviously the Beaches songs and the Rose, but the show really tried to centre on the 1970s tours that she did when she played the Palace Theatre in New York, and the board and the dirty jokes and the harlots and the choreography and the over-the-top costumes. And when I was developing the show, I was working with a cellist from the Brandenburg Orchestra on some of my original material, and I was telling him about the Divine Miss Bette that was being created, and he said, well, that the man who discovered Bette Midler lives just around the corner from you in Sydney. And I had no idea who this gentleman was, and James went on to tell me that his name was Steve Ostro, and he was the manager of the Continental Baths in New York City, where Bette first started performing. He found her singing in a cafe on his wife's recommendation. Steve was looking for some entertainment for the baths, and his wife had recommended this little pocket rocket who was in her acting class, and so Steve went down to the cafe and he said there was this dumpy little girl serving drinks, and the waitresses would get up on the stage and perform, and as soon as she did, she became luminous, and she sang The Man in the Moon, and he called her over to his table and he said, I want you to sing in my club. And she said, well, what kind of a club is it? And he said, it's a steam room. And she said, you want me to sing in a steam room? So he offered her $25 a night, and she took the gig. So I started working with him to train classically. We never trained to sound like Bette or anything, but it was the stories that he would share with me about her and the way that she worked, which was just incredible to hear, and that one degree of separation was just so special.
And on that, you have a finger in a number of electro-pop bands, which seems to be quite a distance in the music from McVie and Midler.
It is, yeah.
Tell us about what appeals to you about that kind of music and how you got involved in that.
I got involved in that. I was working as a session vocalist when I lived in the UK in 2004 and 2005, and I was recording with a producer in Sheffield. And I mean, I love singing anything, and I can create a lot of different sounds with my voice. And I just started to find a love for vocal sampling, and that's what I was doing in Sheffield with this particular producer. And then when I moved back to Sydney, I was doing a lot of live performance work, and a friend just hooked me up with this band that were looking for a female vocalist, a front woman, and they were called the Gauge Breakers, and they consisted of 2 DJs and a live percussionist. And I started working and composing and writing with them in about 2007. So we've got a couple of singles that will be released very soon. We charted the Triple J Unearthed Dance charts at #1 and #3 for 6 weeks, which was incredible. So it's just a different genre that I love performing, and I perform in a certain character who I've created called Fidel Cathro, and she's a very strong, sort of dominatrix-esque style character. So it's just someone else that I get to play around with, which is exciting. You know, we play nightclubs and festivals and all of those sorts of things, and it's just completely different to obviously the cabaret and other on-stage things I do.